Okay, it's setting everything up, just waiting for it to go through, and then we're good to go, and I'll just post the links. Here we go. Where's my microphone? Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me just make sure this is in fact working. It should be. Um, yeah, okay, cool. It's working. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's episode of Paranormal Encyclopedia. Sorry that it's been a while. Tonight we're going to be discussing the series The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, particularly in preparation for our interview next week with Jim Butcher.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know, next week we will be doing this show an hour early at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who don't know, well, technically 7:57 Eastern Standard at the moment. Um, but we'll be, and Jim has been kind enough to agree to come on. We'll be talking to him about the books, and his experiences and things like that in general. It should be a really interesting interview. I've been trying to schedule one for the last 10 years, and I'm overjoyed that it's finally happening. Um, so I guess for anyone who doesn't know, I guess the first thing to do is to explain what the Dresden Files are. Oh, and hey,
Oh,
Lisa, for truth, one of our longest listeners who's also a fan of the Dresden Files. Um, I'm sorry, we should introduce ourselves first. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For anyone other than Lisa who happens to be listening, I'm Samantha, formerly Kevin Mears. I'm a paranormal encyclopedia. I am the paranormal encyclopedia, and I am a demonologist. I am joined by my friend and my co-host.
still Brian McKinley, author and godfather of vampire thrillers.
And together we have been doing this show for several years now. Actually, we've
Yeah,
been part of it a long time.
yeah, it's been quite a bit.
So I guess, the place to start is talk about how we found the Dresden Files. I first found it right after the TV show came out, actually, because I
Hmm.
remember seeing the ads for the TV show and going, "Oh, this looks like something up my alley," and then watching it and enjoying it, and like, "Oh, wait, it says at the beginning based on books." And went to the bookstore. I picked up Stormfront and Full Moon, which are the first two books. I thought that the first one was kind of mad, but the second one grabbed me. How about you, Brian? What was your introduction to the series?
Ironically, very similar. I also saw the short-lived sci-fi TV series first and thought it was interesting, and again realized that I had seen Jim Butcher's books and the Dresden Files series in bookstores prior to that, so I knew it was a TV series, and I kind of watched book series, sorry,
Mhm.
and I watched the
Mhm.
TV series kind of to see like, okay, is this something that I think I would be at all interested in? And while the book series turned out to be nothing like the TV series, the
Mhm.
TV series was interesting enough and had some interesting enough themes that I decided, all right, I'm gonna give the first book a try. And yeah, I liked the first book pretty well. I did think the second was a significant improvement. Full Moon with the werewolves and the way it dealt with
And
werewolf
multiple types
lore.
of werewolf at that. That
Yeah,
was just
that's
one
what
of
I
the things
thought
that
was
really
really.
caught my eye.
Yeah, because not many stories do that or have the research to do the realistic, kind of old school
Yeah,
folklore werewolves.
exactly. That was the huge thing that got me. Particularly, it's so common in werewolf stories. You get bitten by another werewolf and you become a wolf, and to the
Yeah,
point that that's
turn into
so
a rampaging
inundated
monster.
into our culture thanks to the movie Werewolf of London and then the more famous Wolfman.
Mostly the Wolfman started
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Although it was in Werewolf of London first.
yeah, yeah. That
Uh,
was the first one.
yeah. But it got that idea so inundated into our culture, people think that's the traditional werewolf from folklore when it's not. Um, Werewolf, it's vampires that get changed by Lisa also commented on another favorite part of the series for me, and knowing you, I'm betting you agree, the vampire courts.
The vampire court was very interesting, the way that he has the different types of vampires that kind of takes into account all the different mythologies. He's very smart with creating a world where just about anything from folklore can exist in one form or another,
And
or
just about everything does exist
the
for that
basis.
matter.
Yeah. Which,
I like
according to interviews I've seen, that was his intention, was to create as wide a playing field as possible.
we'll talk to him about that. Although I think that makes sense to me, and it was an excellent way to do the series. I mean, those three vampire type courts, and of course, is the fourth one, the Jade Court, that we've only heard mention of, we've never seen on screen, as it were.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, those are your three classic ideas of vampires. You have the sexy vampires that have something monstrous underneath, which are your red court. You have your sexy psychic vampires, which are the white court, and then of course you have your classic Dracula undead black court. Which of course Dracula from the novel it was the founding creator of, or possibly his dad. The battleground kind of muddies the waters a bit
Hmm.
because he had said before in interviews that basically Vlad the Impaler Dracula created the Black Court somewhat as teenage rebellion and somewhat to try to impress his dad, Dracula. But when Dracula appears in Battleground, he seems like a Black Court vampire.
Well, he's obviously the same type. I think the idea is that maybe his son founded the court, and before that, his father was the only one. Like his
Maybe.
father was the original.
The other catch being that Dracula isn't supposed to be. He's not only not supposed to be a vampire, he's not even supposed to be human. He's something else that got trapped in the form of a human.
Hmm.
My speculation on which, and I doubt I'm even going to ask him because I doubt he'd answer me, is that either that the answer to what Dracula really is in his name. So he's either an actual true dragon, or he's a devil, a demon. Which are the two ways to the dragon or the devil are the true translations of the name Dracula.
Yeah,
But since he's explicitly something else, and both of those are shapeshifters, so it would make sense they could get trapped in a single form. At least it makes sense to
possible.
me.
Although I have heard that Dracula is also a starborn, which would
Yeah,
make him
that was
a type
confirmed
of
in the
wizard.
book.
Yeah.
Although, well, that raises the question: can other things be starborn?
Hmm. True.
There's so little we know about that concept.
Yeah. Apparently, that's going to come out more in the Big End trilogy.
Yep, whenever that happens. Because remember, originally it was supposed to be 20 case files like we've gotten so far, and then
Mhm.
an apocalypse trilogy to end it.
He thinks
And
now
now,
22.
yeah, now it's 22 and then the apocalypse trilogy.
Yeah.
And this is not a complaint from me in any sense of the word, but I have a feeling like it may extend beyond 22. When I say supposedly 22 books, I mean it in the best sense because I think he's going to wind up finding more stories. Just
It
like
certainly could.
Peace Talks and Battleground, the most recent two books, were supposed to be one book, but the story was getting so big he realized it had to become two.
Yeah. And 12 months wasn't even originally conceived of. It was something that he realized he needed
Yep. The next
to
book
add in.
was originally going to be Mirror Mirror about a parallel universe,
Yep. That's still
complete with
coming.
evil goatees. Yeah, that's out after 12 months.
Yeah.
But maybe, I'm thinking maybe, well, 12 months is almost certainly going to deal with the fallout of Battleground. And
Yeah.
Lisa,
That's
you're
mostly what
actually
it's about.
a couple of books behind at this point. She said the last one she read, what Dresden was on Demon Reach and Mab nursed him back to health.
Oh, yeah, that was a
So,
couple books.
so that was changed, like Ghost Story, maybe.
Well,
Uh,
or Cold Days.
Or yeah, or Cold Days, yeah. And now you've now had Skin Game, which I is one of my favorites.
That was good.
Peace Talks and Battleground that have happened since then. I will say, of my favorite characters in the series, and this is one of the reasons that I think Skin Game is my favorite, the Knights of the Cross and the Knights of the Black and Denarius are probably my favorites.
Hmm. They're
Particular.
certainly the Denarians are the best villains.
Oh yes,
Although Johnny Marcone is right up there.
I
Finale,
could.
one of them.
I completely disagree with you that on that for one simple reason. Johnny Marcone is an excellent character, but he's too complicated to qualify as a villain.
I don't know. He's still very much an antagonist to Dresden.
He's an
So,
antagonist, yes,
hmm.
but antagonist doesn't necessarily mean evil or villainous. It just
True,
means
but the best
oh,
villains see themselves as the hero of their own story.
true. But he's also complicated enough that I don't think he's not a straight villain.
Hmm.
Yeah, oh yeah, quite a lot happens after that book, Lisa. Up to and including my personal favorite, we get the Jedi Knight of the Cross, which is a truly epic moment where um someone finally get for those of you who don't know and are wondering, one of the ideas in the series are what are called the Knights of the Cross. They are three swords, Fidelicius, Amaracius, and Esperance something? Esperacius. The swords of faith, hope, and love. Um, they are swords that have one nail worked into them, the nail from from the crucifixion, and they level the playing field between man and everything else. They are capable of killing anything. Heck, one of them, a knight carrying the sword kills a dragon. Um, and three men are obviously called to carry the swords. One of whom, very early on, is a guy by the name of Shiro, who's a little Japanese man who became a Baptist by mistake because he was an immigrant from Japan and he was a huge fan of Elvis. And he went to an Elvis concert, and after the concert, people asked him if he wanted to meet the king. Shiro's English wasn't so good, but he wanted to meet the king, and he accidentally converted to Baptist. And decided just to keep quiet and be the best Baptist he could be, so nobody got embarrassed. Um, Michael Carpenter, who is your classic Catholic boy, and very much the epitome of what Catholics and Christians should be, in the as actually the idea of a Christian warrior. And yes, Michael will end your shit if you're evil, but he'll also be the first one to reach out the hand and offer forgiveness. Slow to anger, quick to forgive, I think sums him up nicely. And case in point, my favorite out villain from the series outright is Nicodemus, who was created to be basically the exact opposite of Michael.
Hmm.
Jim has said in interviews, like, no, he wrote Nicodemus to be what Michael is not.
Yeah.
And then the only currently active for so my spoilers, the only active member of the Cross for most of the books, for a while now, has been Sonya, who is an agnostic. He was handed a sword of holy power by the Archangel Michael, but he's not sure if he believes in God or not. Um, but in Skin Game, a new knight gets called. After one of the swords gets broken, and yeah, it goes from being what it was into a literal lightsaber. Apparently, it looks like Luke's, and the character who got it was very pleased by that.
Yeah.
um, Understandably,
We
the
have to
op-
talk about a lot of this without spoilers.
yeah, there's 17 books in the series to date, and two collections of short stories, and even more short stories that haven't been collected yet.
Yeah.
um, for those of you who haven't read it, I strongly recommend it. It starts with the book Stormfront. I know that Jim Butcher, as I understand it, usually suggests people actually start with Summer Night, or no, Grave Peril, which is the third book.
Hmm.
Read that and then go back, because his point, and as much as I love his books and I respect him as an author, is his first two books are still very much. especially his first book, in my opinion, is still him finding his voice.
Well, it was written while he was still taking the
In
writing
college, I
courses.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, no, Lisa, the knight that got called is to replace Shiro, who's been gone a long time. And without spoiling anything, no, it's not Murphy. Um, it's somebody much fairly unexpected, but it was foreshadowed a long time ago. But the whole premise of the series, again, if you don't know, is that Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden is the only wizard in the Chicago phone book. He works both as a private investigator, finding lost items, missing people, things of that nature, and as a sometimes consultant to the special investigations part of the Chicago Police Department, which is the people that deal with vampire attacks and werewolf attacks and things of that nature. Um, he he is a sarcastic son of a bitch, to be blunt. Um, as he puts it, he is not so subtle, but still quick to anger. And the books are him dealing with various supernatural threats. The first book is a cult running a drug ring out in Chicago. Um, what makes the drug interesting and mystical is it opens your third eye and lets people see the supernatural world, which is generally very disastrous.
Mhm.
The second book, involving five or six different varieties, is about a string of murders being committed by a werewolf, which covers every major type of werewolf I know of in folklore.
Well, except I don't think he had a Ben and Dante type.
Right. I would argue that he did insofar as the alphas.
Mm,
Because I mean, they didn't get it from an angel. But they did. They are using their power to turn into wolves to do the right thing. So it is
yeah, but
that kind of thing.
they don't do the traditional thing, is what I mean.
There's
And also,
multiple versions.
they operated in like the dream world a lot. Well, the
Granted, but we don't know that Ben and Donzi aren't out there somewhere. Might be
yeah,
something to ask Jim about next week.
yeah, that could be fun.
Um, he also has issues with vampires, which can be divided into four major courts. Red Court, which are South American bat things that take human shape. They are your classic, they bite you, you become a vampire type of vampires. White Court vampires, which are born vampires and feed off of emotion. Black Court vampires, which are so much Dracula from the novel Dracula that the White Court of Vampires manipulated Stoker into writing the book to tell everybody how to kill Black Court. Partly because Black Court are very loathsome, partly because they're all predators, and predators don't like competition for food.
Yeah.
Um, Eventually, with the fourth book particularly, Harry starts running afoul of the Summer and Winter Courts of Fairy, written by Queen Mab and Queen Titania, which become bigger and bigger parts of the books as the series progresses. Um, and it is a massive world, even just what we've seen, but the things that are alluded to, the things that happen in short, because he's written a bunch of short stories that expand things outward. Like there's a trilogy of short stories in which does jobs helping the son of a Bigfoot. Um, there's a series. There's jobs from other characters' perspectives. Like there's a really neat job from one of the White Court vampires' perspectives about him trying about this entire war that Dresden has no idea about, going on to try to wipe the memory of certain supernatural creatures out of the collective mind of humanity,
Hmm. Yeah,
with
that was
this
a good
idea
story.
that they depend on belief to continue to exist on a reality. So if humans forget them, they stop being here. But the wizard, Harry's a wizard, and the White Council, which is the head wizards of the world, their plan, um, Lisa for Truth commenting that she doesn't think Michael's wife will ever forgive Harry, for getting Molly involved with Mab. She kind of does, actually.
Yeah.
Because we were just my fiance and I have been listening again to all of the books on audio. I will also say if you guys like audiobooks that all the books are narrated by James Marsters, Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He does a phenomenal job,
Yeah, except for
but
Ghost Story.
which was done by John Glover,
Yeah,
who did a very good job but got a lot of hate for the fact that he wasn't James Marsters.
yeah. This is a shame
Although,
because John Glover's really good.
oh no, he's an excellent actor. He's a good voice actor. He does a good job with the book, but people are too used to Marsters doing the books. I will say they also re-recorded. You could also get Ghost Story done by James Marsters because they went back and recorded it again because there was so much outcry about it.
Hmm.
Um, Also, most recently, and we just started listening to this because we just finished Battleground. Um, there is a short novel called The Law, which is narrated by Jim Butcher himself, that takes place after the most recent book, which is Battleground, which is also pretty good and kind of a Harry returning to back to form, as it were, because it's not this big elaborate story about world-ending evil. It's about doing a job to help, a PI job to help a woman in trouble. And Marcone gets involved, and it gets more complicated than there. And Marsters is still narrating the rest of the series, as far as anyone knows. It's just that for this particular no- novella, that Jim decided to narrate it himself.
Yeah, I think didn't he also narrate the short story that was from Marcone's point of view?
Even hand, yeah. The second collection of short stories actually has a couple of narrators,
Yeah.
and he is one of them. And I think that is one of the ones that he does. Um, I really can't recommend this series enough. It is a huge amount of fun. The
One of my
characters
favorites.
are very well written. I honestly think it might be my favorite. It's hard to say. There's a lot of books I love, especially a lot of the guys we've had on the show already. I mean, Patrick Thomas and John French are both in my top three even modern authors, but I think Jim Butcher might be my favorite modern author. Um, and I will say the show is back. We are getting back things back on track. I'm sorry we have been gone so long. Um, Yeah, Lisa, Battleground is where you get to see a whole lot more of the world. You get to see the Fomor, you get to see the last surviving member of the Titans. You get to see Dracul. It's basically, it starts with peace talks, which is a peace summit between all the major supernatural, between most of the major supernatural powers, and then that devolves into a giant brawl. You also actually see what Mav's real purpose is in Cold Days. Because particularly one of the things you run into in the series that's fun is there's also multiple things in the series that get called demons. There are the fallen, which are your usual fallen angels, which the ones that we mostly see in the series, though there's a couple others that make sort of appearances, are bound to 30 pieces of silver that were owned by Judas Iscariot, very briefly. Um, and then you have predatory spirits from the Never Never, which is basically the spirit world of the Dresden Files. And then you have the outsiders, which are Lovecraftian type monsters. In fact, Cthulhu is one of them. That's confirmed in Molly's short story. And it really it does come down to I think the outsiders have a place in the world as it is too, because the one comment that Jim Butcher has made is that all of the things in Dresden Files connect to humans in some way except outsiders. Um, But the thing that occurred to me the first time I heard that was, but angels aren't. In every other case, most of the things we see were human at one time, and then they became vampires, they became fairies, they became um whatever. But outsiders were never human. But it's like if you're going by the lore, which Jim usually does, angels were never human. Neither were fallen angels. So they would also fall into that category. Have a good night, Lisa. Good to see you. Remember, 7 o'clock next week because that's when we're having Jim on. It won't be the usual 8 o'clock because 7 o'clock works better for him, and we're more than happy to include him at a different time. In general, we're looking at new interviews. I made some new friends in the paranormal community that I'm looking to have on. Some great folks from fifth annual Halloween event that happened last weekend, believe it or not. Mostly because it was supposed to be in October, but it got tripped up by the weather. But it was a very nice time. Met some very awesome people and want to have them on and want to work with them to do some events and things together as well. We'll talk about that more as time goes on. Um, we're also always working on guests. Uh, Trying to think. Yeah, anything else you want to add about what? There you go, Brian. What's your favorite scene from the Dresden Files? I know mine. That's an easy one.
Yeah. Cool. Favorite favorites. That is.
If my favorite isn't in your top five, I'd be shocked.
Hmm.
Can you guess what?
It probably is. I There's a few that stand out to me that I remember really well. There are a lot that are good. I think honestly, one of the ones that I remember the most from fairly early in the series, the third book, was when Harry goes to the costume party or the fancy dress
Hi, Teresa
party.
Hall.
Yeah, where he comes dressed as a cheesy vampire in a
Movie, yeah,
tuxedo. Yeah,
with the cheap plastic fangs, no less.
yeah. I that one just the descriptions and that one just always
It is
stuck
a
in my head.
really good scene, but I'm still surprised. I'll sum up my favorite scene in one word: Sue. Brian, we lost your. I think we lost your audio there a second.
Oh.
Those of you who haven't read the series, there is this zombie apocalypse that occurs, and Harry finally decisively answers the question: what is the best weapon for a zombie apocalypse? And the answer is a zombie Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Hmm. That is one of the most famous bits.
Yeah, there is art of this online. Harry riding
It's
a
funny.
dinosaur with a poker player along for the ride because it's the only way to keep it going.
And according to Butcher, that one came about for a rather funny out of book reason.
You tell. I
Had you
know
heard
part
that
of the
one?
story.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was because that book was the first one that was going to be
The first
published in
hardcover,
hardcover,
yeah.
and he needed to do something big and more dramatic than what he was originally planning. So the idea occurred to him to have Sue from the Natural History Museum, you know, get resurrected and have Dresden ride a Tyrannosaurus.
Into
Yeah,
battle.
yeah,
I have to give it to you. Teresa Hall said she was going cricket bat from Shaun of the Dead, like Shaun of the Dead. Um, as someone who notoriously hates zombie movies, I actually really like Shaun of the Dead.
yeah. The same. I'm not a big zombie movie fan, but Shaun of the Dead is excellent.
Um, and the cricket bat is an excellent choice, but zombie T-Rex. Your argument is
Yeah, I don't know.
invalid.
The Mythbusters did a rather interesting episode where they made a strong case for the axe
Yeah, I'm aware
as
actually.
the best weapon.
I guess it's a good segue question. Brian, what is your top pick of a weapon for the zombie apocalypse?
Hmm. Um, it's hard
It's
to
one of the
say.
few times we'll go down this road because again, I really hate zombie movies.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what type of
Yeah,
zombie. If it's where you have to shoot them in the head or whatever,
yeah.
then I'm gonna go with, a gun, probably a shotgun because it's the easiest weapon for somebody that doesn't know crap about guns to
Yeah.
use and have a reasonable chance of hitting something with. But I think a shotgun's probably a safe bet in a lot of cases because it's
I would
useful against
go
people and zombies.
katana. It's lightweight. It's a very good sword. And sword, two advantages swords have over any kind of gun. One, you don't have to reload a sword.
True.
Two, swords are quiet. Guns are
Mm,
not.
does that's true. There are advantages to both. I'm just not that good with a
Uh,
sword. I don't trust myself having to get that close to the damn zombies.
which is
I
fair.
think I'd get
And
overrun.
I'm not genius with them either, but we carry a sword and you carry a gun as well, especially for large crowd situations. Because you're right, in close up, the zombies will just overwhelm you. Though the excellent thing a lot of people never think about in a zombie apocalypse, a decent suit of chainmail.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah, I
not
don't know why
fighting
more
through
people
them.
don't go like fully armored.
Yeah.
If
So,
you're
you
worried
know,
about bites.
if the zombies rise up tomorrow, everybody's going to make a mad rush to the gun store. Head for a museum with a good medieval section. Steal the armor first,
Mhm.
because those teeth are not getting through chainmail or hardened carbon steel. It just isn't happening.
Yeah,
And a lot less people are going to think to go there, so you're more likely to find something useful.
yeah. Holding up in a police station is not a bad idea. You could have like SWAT gear.
Anyone who's ever played Resident Evil 2 would disagree with you.
Hmm.
Because there's, I think, not to think as bad, but police stations have the same problem that hospitals do. Because everyone's going to think to run, the first place that sick people are going to go is the hospital. And then when they find out it's a zombie virus, everybody's fucked. But people in general are going to think to go to the hospitals. People are going to think to go to police stations, military barracks, things like that. And one infected person gets in and everybody's fucked
Yeah.
very quickly.
See, my take on that is I honestly don't think a zombie outbreak would, I mean,
It's
for
not
for
going
one
to,
for one
yeah.
thing, I don't think it would spread as fast as it always does in the movies. I don't see unless it was just some supernatural thing where every damn corpse in the world just rose up and started attacking everyone all at
The
once.
original Night of the Living Dead idea
It-
where everyone who dies comes back as a zombie. If you get bitten,
yeah,
you
it's
just
like
turn faster.
it's like for the most part, the way they move and stuff, a real zombie outbreak, you'd put it down. People would put it down pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, well, I've always argued a group of hunters would be able to take it down pretty effectively because you just get on top of a building with decent scopes and just pick them off.
Yeah,
And if that didn't work, a military sniper team would end it very quickly.
yeah, yeah. They'd quarantine areas. Like it'd be like
Yeah.
that's why Shaun of the Dead was actually one of the most realistic, where the thing just does eventually blow over, and eventually the zombies become commonplace, and
Yep.
they turn into like things on game shows and shit. I thought that was the most realistic ending of any
Yeah.
zombie movie I'd ever seen. I was like, no, that's what would happen.
I'll say the one book that makes a good counter argument is World War Z, and in World War Z, the military tries to respond to the zombie threat, but it responds in a very American way with bombs and explosives and all sorts of other flashy shit that isn't all that useful.
Hmm.
Because it's
I've heard
specifically a
World
world
War
where you
Z.
have to destroy the brain to kill the zombie, which means blowing it, setting on fire isn't going to kill it right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard the book was really good. I never
It
saw
is.
the movie and or read it.
I've never seen the movie, but I have read the book. It is an excellent book. Though it is always worth noting, and this is something that Max Brooks, the author, noticed when he went to talk to various, because he wanted to do research and make it as realistic as he could. So he went and talked to military groups and the CDC and things like that. And the thing is, every major government group or organization he talked to had a what if scenario for if zombies happened.
Mhm.
And that's true. And there's actually a very logical reason for it. It's called an out of context problem. So the U.S. military has plans. It's thought out and prepared and are on file somewhere, probably at the Pentagon, for what if there's an alien invasion? What if there's a zombie uprising? What if vampires break out? Not because not what if Cthulhu rises from the ocean depths? Not because they think any of these things are going to happen, but the idea is things are going to happen we can't plan for, have throughout history. All of a sudden you're indigenous people to the Americas, and these weird pale guys show up in metal skin that could kill you while standing 10 feet away. It's like
Yeah.
all of a sudden something completely outside of your experience has taken place and you have to react to it. What they believe, and I agree with them, is that by planning for ridiculous out of the box scenarios that no one would expect, when something actually happens that nobody could plan for, their minds are more flexible and more adaptable to come up with a solution because they've already gone down the what if the craziest idea possible happened.
Yeah. No, that actually does make a good deal of
And
sense.
yes, the upshot is it winds up meaning yes, there are plans for zombies. Yes, there are plans for hell on earth and the biblical apocalypse. If you've thought of it, somebody's probably come up with a plan for it just because, again, it's out of the box thinking. It's let's get ourselves out of our own heads.
Break
Um,
glass in case of apocalypse.
yeah. I mean, we've been through so many predictions of the end of the world. It's not anymore. Even I'm losing track. I mean, there's been what, two or three in the last couple of months because the one guy in Africa, based on the one soccer World Cup, became convinced the world was going to end. And then he was wrong, so he predicted it again, and he was wrong, and he predicted it again.
Yeah. There's just no future in predicting the end of the world.
Well, you see, the smart play that people forget is you've got to do it the way that Nostradamus made major predictions. You predict it centuries after you'll be dead and gone, so
Hmm.
nobody can tell you I told you so when you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It should never be during your lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. If I was going to go and predict the end of the world, and I'm not, I predict it's going to be in 300 years. Because I'm not going to be, no one who's watching me now is going to be here in 300 years to go, hey, Kevin, you're wrong.
Yep.
But
So
I'm not going to do
you said your
that.
favorite Dresden Files book is Skin Game.
Yeah.
I think I think mine might still be I think Changes, because
Which is also a
that was
phenomenal
just
book.
the wildest book. Like up until like Battleground, that was,
Yeah, for absolute crazy, you can't beat Battleground.
yeah. I really liked White Knight though as well. The one
I
where
was
the
going to
White
say,
Court was
yeah,
featured prominently, because the White Court are like personal favorites of mine as well.
I really like the White Court. As much as I generally dislike the sexy vampire trope, I like the White Court. It might
Mm.
be the one time I've seen it done well.
Yeah. I mean, the sexy vampire trope goes all the way back to the beginning of vampire literature.
Okay, the one time recently that I've seen it done well. I'll make that proviso. Because yes, the very first vampire book is Lord Byron as a vampire. He is definitely the sexy vampire trope.
Yeah. So people like to think that this is a recent phenomenon, and I correct them and I say, no, no, this goes back to the very beginning of people writing about vampires. As soon as they
Heck,
found their way into stories, they became sexy and attractive and rich.
the first vampire story is the sexy, rich, aristocratic vampire,
Hmm.
and I can't remember if it's the second or third story is a lesbian vampire.
Second, Carmilla, yeah.
Yeah, then that would
It's
make
not the
the
second in the world. There were some others in France and whatnot that took place, but
with the second in
most well
English.
known. Yeah, the most well known.
And technically, depending on how far you stretch vampire, there's even an older book than the vampire that has a vampire in it.
Mm,
That is also based on Lord Reuven, or
mm,
based on Lord Byron, and named Lord Reuven as well. Reuven.
yeah,
Um, and before that, there's August Calmet's The Invisible World, The Phantom World, or The Invisible World. I'm forgetting at the moment. which is a collection of folklore from mostly from Eastern Europe, which is one of the first mentions of vampires at all in the English language.
Yeah, it's probably where the a lot of the ideas came from.
Yeah, but it's notably different because Carmilla and the vampire and Dracula and Varney are meant to be are written as fiction. They're not meant to be true. Where Cullinan actually believed in vampires,
Yeah,
or just like King James the First of Scotland mentions vampires and werewolves briefly in his book on demonology. And again, he actually believed in these things. He actually believed
yeah.
in supernatural forces.
Well, for a time, a lot of people really did.
Also, realistically speaking, even in the 19th century, how much people believe in things and don't gets fuzzy.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, the 1840s is the beginning of the spiritualist movement. That sees a huge resurgence in occult beliefs and practices and ideology. It's all over the world. Particularly, you wind up seeing, and we really need to do a video or two on this, the Theosophy movement that becomes extremely popular, mixing Western occultism and Eastern philosophy. And I mean, Theosophy was a huge deal in the early, even into the early 20th century. With Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was a big believer in it, for example.
Yeah,
And on the American side of things, Abraham Lincoln was regularly attended seances held at the White House itself by mostly for his wife's benefit, but he did
yeah,
seem to be that he might have been a believer. Then again, Abe had a weird fixation on death and almost certainly suffered from depression, if not outright bipolar.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty well
Yeah.
believed at this point.
I mean, he had his dream of himself lying dead, assassinated in the White House,
Hmm.
famously. But that's all goes down a whole conspiracy rabbit hole of people who see links between him and Kennedy. And in fairness, there are a lot of weird coincidences between the two.
Yeah,
But you can pick almost any two presidents separated by like a century and find a bunch of weird coincidences if you look hard enough.
yeah,
The reality is, folks, sometimes coincidences are just coincidences.
yep,
And also a lot of it's a correlation causation thing because if you're look hard enough, you find all sorts of weird relationships of, when this number goes up, this number goes up, even though one has nothing to do with the other. Like my personal favorite has always been that there's a correlation between um, death by asphyxiation, be it hanging, strangulation, drowning, dying because of fumes in a garage or whatever, and people getting PhDs in mathematics, masters and PhDs in mathematics. It's like the number, when one goes up, the other one goes up by a very similar amount. There's a correlation there. It doesn't mean anything.
yeah. It's not causation.
Yeah. Mhm. It's just if you look at random sets of data long enough, eventually you'll notice two sets are very similar for no reason. But okay, I'm getting a call. For probably a good time to start looking at wrapping up. I'm gonna go the
Okay.
full hour, but we're back, folks. Remember to tune in an hour earlier next week, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's 8:40 now for reference. If you're not in the Eastern time zone and wondering what time that is, we are going to be having the author of the Dresden Files, Codex Alera, and at least
Cinder spires.
Cinder Spires. Thank you. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
On the show, Jim Butcher. I've never had the pleasure of meeting the man personally, but my fiance and some other people I know have. And from everything I heard, he's a great guy. He's an excellent writer. I really love his stuff, as does Brian, as we've been talking about mostly for the last 40 minutes. So it should be a really good interview. He's been generous enough to give it to us, so we appreciate it. And hint, hint, I've been trying to get this interview for the last 10 years, which is more on communication issues than on him. So don't
Yeah.
hold that against him.
And for those of you who are interested in our topic, we are going to be asking him about the paranormal, not just about author writer questions.
Oh yeah, no doubt
He has
about it.
some good stories that he's hopefully going to share.
I think we'll get something out of him.
Oh, I know he has at least a couple that I'm
And
hoping
he's
will
willing to share
repeat.
them in other places, so we'll probably do it
Yeah,
here. But that'll do it for tonight, folks. Remember, if you like what we do, like, comment, and subscribe. If you have a little money to throw our way, feel free to send it to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/demonology. The link will be in the description. If you or somebody you know, for that matter, is having a paranormal problem, my email address is in the description below. Feel free to reach out. It's why I put it there. But that's going to do it for tonight, everyone. Have a good night and God bless. Brian,
Brian McKinley saying keep your fangs sharp.
good night, everybody. And